Hello guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the client case study series. So today we're going to be talking about Jeevan. So Jeevan is someone who has basically gone through the entire spectrum on his fitness journey. He started off, even prior to meeting me. So I've been working with him since 2021, but even right back to 2017 was when his fitness journey sort of really started to pick up pace. He started off as someone that was, very, very overweight. He'd been up, over 19 stone. He was depressed, unconfident, and just overall unhappy with his health and pretty much the direction his life was going in. And he is someone that has genuinely, hugely improved his quality of life through fitness. So he's gone from being sort of overweight and depressed to now being sort of confident, healthy, energetic, and really successful in sort of other areas of his life. And he's someone that's a really good example of what fitness can do for you, for your confidence. And I wanted to sort of just talk through his journey. So obviously he started off, very, very overweight, not a particularly great relationship with food, bit of an emotional eater. And he had lost quite a lot of weight, even by himself prior to meeting me. So we first started together back in 2021. He'd already come down a lot in body weight prior to us starting to work together, but he'd hit sort of a stopping point where he knew he loved training, he loved living a fitness orientated lifestyle already, but he'd reached the point where his physique wasn't really continuing to change anymore. Previously it had all just been about losing weight. Now he was interested in actually creating a genuinely lean, muscular and impressive looking physique. And he was struggling to sort of make that forward progress without a more sort of well-designed training strategy. So that's sort of what we've done for him. When we first started off together, he'd lost a lot of weight, but he wasn't, in particularly great shape, as it were. So over the course of working together, we've actually run 3 diet phases and interspersed that with 2 longer gaining phases. So at first, when we started with him, we dieted down, we had a look at his physique, we recognized that his lower body was extremely dominant over his upper body. And then we committed to sort of a good long gaining phase and then dieted back down and saw a huge difference in his physique. And we've repeated that process twice. And that's one of sort of the biggest things that I would say that Jeevan has that has set him apart from the point that many people reach and then get stuck with their physique, is that he's been willing to invest in his long-term progression with his physique. He's been willing, even as someone that was previously very, very overweight, he's been willing to invest serious periods of time, 18 months, into gradually gaining weight and even seeing that body fat go up again in order to create the physique that he wants down the line. He is willing to take 1 step back in order to move 3 steps forward. And that mentality is often crucial if you want to keep progressing with your physique down the line. And he now has gone from living, a lifestyle that he really didn't enjoy. He felt like low energy, depressed, wasn't enjoying sort of where he was heading. He's now sort of living a really fitness orientated lifestyle out in Dubai. So he's someone that's unbelievably disciplined. He's very good with sort of preparing his food ahead of time. He has, a really high level corporate job. He has a young family. So he has a lot of challenges that he has to overcome. But, he never makes excuses. He's someone that's extremely diligent. And he's become sort of a real, I would say a proper fitness inspiration among his friendship group. He would never say that himself, but he's someone that is constantly referring his friends and family to us. And, we get all of his friends and family, even just asking for advice, that type of thing, because he's someone that has really inspired those around him to live a more healthy lifestyle. And he gives a great example to his kids about, what fitness can do for you. And he's someone that has really changed the trajectory of his life through fitness, which is so, so cool to see. Anyway, back into the actual sort of nitty gritty of, what we did with him. When we first started together, obviously we got him good and lean, and then we had a look at where his physique was at, and then we focused on bringing up those weak points. And then this required sort of a fairly specialized training split. So he actually only hits legs once per week. Everything else is trained twice with much, much higher volumes. His lower body is extremely responsive. So we figured out sort of we need a fair amount more for his upper body than we do for his lower body. We work really hard on things like his exercise execution. He's very good with sending training footage, and we've really refined his approach over the years. When we first started, I found that actually I was having to correct almost everything that he was doing. He hadn't had much direction or any coaching previously with how to train. So literally every video he was sending me, it was a case of having to, strip it back, change what he was doing. Now I'll send him a new program and literally everything will be immaculate right the way from week one, because he's got those basic principles so well nailed down. So we've run through a couple of cutting, gaining phases, and each time he's done that, his physique has got noticeably better. And that's often, the real testament to someone's ability to progress. A lot of people will get lean and then they'll get a bit fat, and then they'll get lean again. Their physique will look largely the same and they just repeat that cycle. But every time we've done a gaining and then a cutting phase, he has looked totally different each time we've then dieted down. And that's testament to how productive he is and how adherent he is, even in those gaining phases. A lot of the time people will be quite diligent whilst they're cutting, and then it comes to the gaining phase, they take their foot off the gas, they're not quite so disciplined, they're not quite so structured. But he's someone that's really, really on top of it. He's got all of his ducks in a row, even during those phases. And it really shows every time we come to diet down, his physique has got notably better. And as a result, he has achieved one of the most drastic physical transformations that you'll ever see. He's gone from being genuinely obese to now being absolutely shredded, carrying an unbelievable physique, to the extent which we are now considering him doing at some point maybe a natural bodybuilding competition, because he genuinely has, both the level of muscularity and the proportions to his physique required to do well in that, but he also has, the discipline, and he has the drive to do it, and he has the love of that fitness lifestyle, because taking something to that extreme can easily turn some people off. If you're just doing it for external validation, which he absolutely is, and he doesn't even have social media. So yeah, it's the opposite for him. He does everything for internal validation. And I think that's why his, driving force is so strong. But yeah, taking a diet to the real extreme can be something that really puts people off their fitness journey. They fall out of love with training, that type of thing. But he's someone that just thrives on being pushed harder and has seen sort of such wide-ranging benefits in other areas of his life through getting so into fitness. So I just thought it would be a really cool story to share, and hopefully will not only inspire, those around him directly, but also show those of you that are earlier in your fitness journey, what can be achieved if you keep sticking to that process. You keep focusing on refining your skills in the gym, you keep focusing on getting more discipline, that type of thing. Your physique can continue to evolve over time, and you will reap those benefits in so many other areas as well.